continent that someone says bright as God. Oh, I feel a vibration, feel a rhythm, feel a spark. Oh, when my spirit is feeling low, the natural mystic lifts me slow, like a bongo or Orisha drum, deep in the Congo, or the nation rhythm. Oh, make me feel so dance, 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 put me in a trance and rhythm. I can't control my feet. I was caught by their whip. I was tied on their ship. I was used. I was wrong. But that can't keep me down. So they say, them is torn. They wrong me with thorns. I'm the root. I'm the rock. Resolute like me luck. Ancient written. You healer of me pain. Pain, pain. Make me whole. Ancient written. So I travel far. I am Africa. Brought here to this land, which I know you call my home. Oh, Trinbagonian, though my spirit is still roam. Hey, hey. In the ghetto, born and raised, for my ancestors I'm still giving praise. True religion, peace I found, meditation when I lay on the morning ground. Ancient rhythm, you healer of me pain, 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 make me whole. Ancient rhythm, going through me pain, breaking all the chains. No, I'm free as a bird. Liberty is the word. West Indian, Caribbean, African, Nubian queen. My skin them is burn, with crosses they burn. No, I won't be denied. There is peace inside. Asian rhythm, your healer of me pain, 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 make me whole. Asian rhythm, deep within my soul. Red, green, black, and gold. That's what mama is. I reward, yeah. I reward, yeah. I reward, yeah. I reward, yeah. Vanity born dialect. I reward, yeah. I reward, yeah. So in time I learned that with talent I was blessed. Oh yes, I learned to let it go and let me fall to the rest. Oh yes, ever humble with open eyes. Though I stumble still, I rise from every lesson. Yes, I learn, helping others in retardation. Oh, you make me want to dance, 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 put me in a trance and rhythm. All them days I miss, as I reminisce, that village, as a teen, heritage, Bella Queen, moving on, Kaiso, going strong, Tankuso, dignity, and in time, victory, it was mine, memories, let it be cemetery, oh my ancient Rami, your healer of me pain, 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 let me hold ancient rhythm. Be my destiny. Come, come, come. truly free. Oh, oh. Yeah. Self-reliant, for on an island I was born. Oh, oh. Still defiant, I learned to dig deep and be strong. Hear why? When my critics hurt me so, through my music, I just feel as though these vibrations give me strength. Through libation, heaven sensation ready. Healer of me pain, let me hold an ancient ready. You captivate me so. My future, I behold. I'm awake, I'm alive. Then not break, I'll survive. Not naive, aiming high. I believe I can fly in the mind. Let me laugh, still refining me craft. In my blood, there remains like a flood through me venation. You make me want to dance, dance, dance. Put me in a chase and rhythm. Captivate me soul. My future I behold. Let's go, mama. I won't, yeah. I won't, yeah. I won't, yeah. I won't, yeah. Yeah, Simon, I won't, yeah. I won't. I won't, yeah. Ready, 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 action, 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 ready.
And now, I like to go back to the very first, to the beginning. I'd like to do for you tonight the very first song I ever recorded as a solo artist. It's called Hello, Africa. And you can clap if you want. You can sing if you want. You can even dance if you want. Hello, Africa. Come on. You got it. Well, hello, Africa. How you do, Africa? Well, hello, Africa. How you do, Africa? Tell me how you do, Africa. How you do, Africa? Tell me how you do, Africa. How you do, Africa? Well, hello, Africa. How you do, Africa? Well, hello, Africa. How you do, Africa? Tell me how you do, Africa. How you do, Africa? Tell me how you do, Africa. How you do, Africa? You sent me away with an empty heart. How you do, Africa? I wanna get back and make a fresh start. How you do, Africa? You sent me away with an empty heart. How you do, Africa? I wanna get back and make a fresh start. How you do, Africa? Well, hello, Africa. How you do, Africa? Well, hello, Africa. How you do, Africa? Tell me how you do, Africa. How you do, Africa? Tell me how you do, Africa. How you do, Africa? Tell me then which is my home.
How you do, Africa?
Where is the jungle I used to roam?
How you do, Africa?
The only tigers I see are tame.
How you do, Africa?
The only tigers I see are tame.
How you do, Africa?
Well, hello, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Well, hello, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Tell me how you do, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Tell me how you do, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
The only tigers I see are tame.
How you do, Africa?
The only tigers I see are tame.
How you do, Africa?
The only tigers I see are tame.
How you do, Africa?
The only tigers I see are tame.
How you do,
Well, hello, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Well, hello, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Tell me how you do, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Tell me how you do, Africa.
How you do,
Play! Go, bravo! Go! Play, Tony, play! Tony Edmonds on keyboards. Give a big round of applause for me. Tony Edmonds on keyboards. Mozambique is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Mozambique is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Zimbabwe is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Zimbabwe is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Kingston, Jamaica, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Kingston, Jamaica, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Kingston, Jamaica, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Barbados is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Barbados is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Trinidad and Tobago is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Trinidad and Tobago is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
I know it's cold down there, but let me see you jump. 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 Jump, 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 jump. You can do anything that you want. You can do anything that you want. You can do it tonight, and everything's gonna be alright. You can do it tonight, and everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be. Well, hello, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Well, hello, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Tell me how you do, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Go! Play, Tony, play! Tony Edmonds on keyboards. Give a big round of applause for me. Tony Edmonds on keyboards. Mozambique is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Mozambique is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Zimbabwe is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Zimbabwe is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Kingston, Jamaica, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Kingston, Jamaica, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Kingston, Jamaica, Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Barbados is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Barbados is Africa.
How you do, Africa?
Trinidad and Tobago is Africa. How you do, Africa? Trinidad and Tobago is Africa. How you do, Africa? I know it's cold down there, but let me see you jump. 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 Jump, 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 jump. You can do anything that you want. You can do anything that you want. You can do it tonight, and everything's gonna be all right. You can do it tonight, and everything's gonna be all right.
How you doing, Africa? How you doing, Africa? Alawi Yaso African. Alawi Yaso African. Guyana is Africa too. If you are not African by culture, you're African by birth, because humanity began in Africa. Alawi Yaso African. Alawi, the lyrical and musical genius of Guyana, the birthplace in Plaisance. Eddie Grant, our own musical genius, and before that, Sandra Devines, the singing Sandra. Ancient rhythms. They're trying to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana, but we're not going to let them do it. They say that them thing that David Hines playing, young African Guyanese don't listen to. What do they know what young African Guyanese does listen to? Sometimes, you just want to box them on their mouth and say, shut up, you know not what you're talking about. Them young people with their one-man band now, they say, carry me back and me move my country. You're going to dance out with them young people. Now, those, and I don't put me mouth too much in Indians. I don't understand Indian culture in the same way as I understand African culture. I don't understand Native American culture, meaning indigenous people culture, in the same way. And I'm very cautious. Yes, everybody wants to tell African people what they must listen to, who they must listen to. They are all now experts on what young African people do. These are people who know nothing about young people. The young people taking them same music this. And you go in the dance hall and they're singing "Carry Me Back, Come My Country." But it is the grand plan, the master plan, to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana. The unfortunate thing is that some of our African Guyanese, not just young African Guyanese, sometimes we pile up and say it's the young people, but some of the older people too. They're not realizing what the master plan is. And they can't realize it on their own. Those of us who were lucky, those of us who have been lucky to pay attention to these things at the deep level, realize what the master plan is. And so we have a duty to continue to teach, continue to inform, continue to educate our people about the master plan in Guyana. They try it at the elections. The whole idea at the election is to do exactly what happened, which is to split up African Guyanese electorally And then you say, look, African Guyanese are moving away from their culture. They're moving away from David Hines. I heard them on the weekend say that David Hines is stuck in the 1970s, the Black Power of the 1970s. And the young people have no time with Black Power. And that is why we lost the election. We didn't lose the election because of structural rigging. We didn't lose the election because of vote buying. We didn't lose the election because some of our leaders collaborated with others whose grand plan is to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana. Wherever Africans are, whether it's in Barbados or Jamaica or the United States of America, in Europe, in Guyana, in Suriname, St. Lucia, wherever Africans are, we disrupt the status quo. Because for 400 years, the status quo thrived on our dispersonhood. And once at a structural level, at a legal level, we recaptured our personhood, we become a threat to the status quo wherever we are. And so the grand plan in Guyana, whether it's one Guyana, whether it's at election time, the grand plan is to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana. So we will be here in Guyana, but we will not be Africans. We will be something else. One Guyana. Some of us like to say we are Guyanese and we're not African. But they don't want us to be African. They don't want us to be African. Because to be African is to be a disruptor to the status quo, which has been built on our blood, our sweat, our tears. And when some of us put our voice out there and say, like Eddie Grant says, hello, hello, Africa. When we say hello, Africa, we are saying hello to ourselves, to our fiber, to the fiber of our being. We are saying hello to our identity. Identity comes from identification. With whom and with what you identify. When we say hello, hello, Africa, it's not a greeting in the formal sense. It's a resort to memory, historical memory. From Africa we came with the burden of fighting against enslavement. And to Africa we return, always returning to Africa. And so when they say the young people don't listen to Calypso, they don't listen to them thing what David Hines talking about. He's talking the 70s. The 70s was about Black power. It was in the 70s that Bob Marley sounded the cry. We are what we are, and that's the way it's going to be. It was in the 70s when Vivian Richards, red, green, and gold, picked up a bat and announced to the world that with this bat in hand, Africa shall ring across the world. It was in 1976 when a white South African, Tony Gregg, said he will make the West Indians grovel. And Clive Hubert Lloyd looked at his team of young men and said, our man on the television has said it all for us. Thus begun 20 years of dominance of a sport that was meant to subjugate us, and we beat the world. The poorest, the blackest of all cricket countries beating the world for 20 years. Never happened before and will never happen again in a team sport. Hello, Africa. Hello, hello, Africa. Tonight I'm saying hello, Africa. You see, some of us are saddled with this thing that we are Afrocentric, some call us African racists, and all kinds of things. 20 years ago, I did not sit down and say, 20 years later, I want to be on social media and other media advocating for Africans. That's not how it works. 20 years ago, I was busy making a living, being a political activist, doing what the times demanded. But as Guyana has moved forward, the African question loomed large. The African question has always been a question that has consumed the world. The great United States of America, when they gathered in Philadelphia, they went there to upgrade the Articles of Confederation. They ended up creating a new constitution and a new country. But the question, the largest question, was what to do about the African. And we all know the compromise, the 3-5 compromise. They decided that the African, for purposes of white representation, the African shall be 2/3 of a person. So that's Southern whites and Northern whites, Southern states and Northern states, the states of America, were going to get their representation based on the 2/3 of a person that the Constitution of the United States gives to the African. So it was not a case of African people in America getting 2/3 of the vote. It was them being counted as 2/3 for white representation. The other compromise they made is that they were going to postpone the end of slavery. The African question loomed large. And that is why at the turn of the 20th century, W.B. Du Bois, who in my estimation, along with C.L.R. James, are the two greatest philosophers of the 20th century, regardless of color. Not the two greatest black philosophers, the two greatest philosophers of the 20th century. C.L.R. James of our Caribbean and W.E.B. Du Bois of the United States of America, Black America. And Du Bois declared at the turn of the 20th century that the 20th century shall be the century of the color line. It was going to be the century of race, the struggle for racial equality. And if Du Bois, who died in 1963, on the day of the March on Washington in August of 1963, he died on that day, and he lived at the turn of the 21st century, he would have said, the 21st century is going to be the century of the color line also. The African question has always loomed large. And so as Guyana entered the era of the petrol state, the African question is looming large again. What to do about the African in a petro state? That is the question that they're posing for Guyana, and they're pretending by asking other questions. The election in 2025 was what about the African? And the master plan was to use the election as a means of separating and dividing the African electorally, and then said to the world that the Africans do not want to be Africans. They've abandoned David Hines. They've abandoned Black Power. They don't sing hello, hello, Africa. They've abandoned Eddie Grant. This is the message. And so we come out of the 2025 election and we're asking correctly a lot of political questions. But we are not asking the larger question. And the larger question is the survival of the African in Guyana. The plan is to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana. They can't kill all of us. They tried to kill, some say 400, some say 1,400 of our young men. And that is deliberate. They're killing the seed. They tried doing that, they didn't kill us out. So I think they figure out you can't kill us out. So what you're going to do is that we're going to be here, but we will not be in the face of Guyana. In Brazil, they tried to wipe Africa off the face of Brazil. They came up with the whole notion of racial democracy. They came up with the whole notion of mixing. Unlike the United States, which separated, or South Africa, which separated, in Brazil, they mixed. And according to their science, if you mix Africa with something fairer than black, eventually you get rid of blackness. They were mistaken. They created over 300 shades of black in Brazil. Brazil today is the largest African population outside of Africa and the second largest African population after Nigeria. So this plan to rid the world of Africa is not new. In the United States, they came up with the colonization scheme in which the government of the United States contributed money to colonize Africans outside of the United States. We know that some were sent to what is now Liberia, and many went voluntarily. They shipped some to an island of Haiti, what is now Haiti. They didn't survive there and they had to be shipped back to America. But America wanted to wipe Africa off the face of America. And when they couldn't do so by deporting all Africans out of the United States, they came up with the philosophy of separation, segregation. Here in Guyana, the scheme is that we can't kill them, all of them. We cannot send them, ship them to Africa. So what we're going to do is we are going to eliminate them economically and ultimately politically and culturally. That is what all this drumbeat about young black people don't want nothing to do with race is about. That's the grand plan. And where people like me and others have become enemy number one is that we peep the plan. And we didn't peep the plan because they show us the plan. We peep the plan because we understand history, we understand African history, we understand the history of race. And so we spot them down the road a long time. They want to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana. They're going on, they're carrying on. They can't have a program. And they call David Hines' name 10, 15, 20 times. And I wake up in the morning. Martin Carter said, you wake up in the morning and you sort your birds and sunlight. And they wake up in the morning and they search whether David Hines is still around, whether Vincent Alexander and Takuma Ogunse are still around. Because they understand that at a deep ideological and cultural level, we understand what they're up to. And so 20 years ago, I didn't sit down and say in 2025, I would be on this journey. But here we are in 2025. And duty calls. And some of us are well poised to take up that mantle. So sometimes, if you all don't hear me talking too much about Azzeddine Mohammed and his story with America, pardon me. Or if I don't spend too much time talking about what happened over the weekend with the election for the chairmanship, pardon me. Because all the prattle about what happened over the weekend is to take our attention away from the real plan, which is to wipe Africans off the face of Guyana. I love my sisters, whether they're Melly Mel or Deli Mel or whoever they are. I don't spend too much time looking or listening to those people, not because I feel they have nothing to say, but it's because there is urgent work to be done, and I don't think that those sisters and brothers are ready for the urgent work that has to be done. And I don't mean it as a criticism or a put down or anything. Every one of us has, different aspect of work to do. So I don't feel that I have to spend energy on the story over the weekend with the regional seats or with Azzeddine and the American Chargini and so on. All I have to say to our African brethren is that thing na regular. If you listen, if you watch what happened over the weekend, is African fighting African in Region 10. African fighting African in Region 4. When I theorized that African people, by their vote for Mohammed, in effect what they've done is created a second party, some of the fools laugh at me. But what do they know of politics? And I am right. You see two African parties fighting one another in Linden and Region 10 and Region 4. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of what happened. I have views on what happened, but I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of what happened. There are people who are better placed than I am to deal with those things. But I want to point out the larger theatrics, and that is black man fighting black man, African fighting African. And they're not fighting African for power in government. They're fighting African as opposition. When I said that by voting for win, the 70,000 or thereabout Africans who voted for win, what they did was in effect created two parties, two black parties, and here they were on the weekend fighting down one another. Now, I am APNU. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. So I have my political preferences. But my political duty takes me beyond the party preference and to look at the racial and ethnic dynamics. I'm ready to say, I've been very cautious these last couple of weeks, but I'm ready to say that the greatest outcome of the 2025 election was the weakening of the African Guyanese resistance movement. I'm ready to say that. And I said deliberately resistance movement, because as human beings, we're always resisting. Even as we are creating, we are resisting, because what we construct and create comes out of struggle. Emancipation came out of resistance against slavery. Independence came out of resistance against colonialism. Our post-independence nationalism came out of resistance against neocolonialism and imperialism. We are constantly resisting. Resisting is not just protest. Resisting is also saying, I am. Affirmation in itself is resistance. And because we African people were depersonalized, dehumanized, we are constantly humanizing ourselves and our communities. And that culture of resistance, that culture of rehumanizing ourselves was dealt a severe blow on September 1st. Now, there are people who are interested in the results of the election. I too am interested. I would have loved the APNU to have won the elections. And so you enter elections to win them. And I understand that people are concerned about whether we won or lost the election. But people like myself are called upon to go further and to wonder whether we have not lost, we have not surrendered part of our larger cultural soul. I was asked to go beg for a young woman who told her mother that she voted APNU. And the mother overheard her telling a friend that if she knew that Mohammed had done all this story, she would never win the vote. And the mother put she out. Because she said, you lied to me. And second, you sell out your African soul. I had to go speak to the mother takes she back in. What happened on September 1st has divided our communities, divided families, has done a lot of harm to the Black community. And that is what those who want to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana, that's what they intended. They intended for our young people to fight against their parents and for their parents to fight against them. That's the intention of what they did on September 1st. And we are learning that there is a lot more in the martyr than the pistol when it comes to September 1st. We are learning that there were some slave catchers hiding in the dark and catching slaves and turning them over. We are learning that. And these are not just slave catchers from the PPP, because at least one positive, the slave catchers from the PPP didn't catch too many slaves. And we can celebrate that. Former President Ramotar said that the PPP beat the bush and Win catch the bird. No, Ramotar is not David Hines. David Hines would say that the PPP sent out the slave catchers, but Muhammad caught the slaves. Now I'm going to hear tomorrow they're going to say, David Hines, all those people who voted for Win are slaves. You know how simplistic they are. Right? Ramotar said PPP beat the bush and Muhammad catch the bird. PPP sent out the bounty hunters and Muhammad got the prize. That is what happened. So at least the PPP slave catchers were denied the bounty. And there's a lot to celebrate there. But what the rise of Muhammad at these elections did is that it has split, it has divided the resolve of the African. We had an uphill task in fighting the PPP to restore our dignity in Guyana when we were together. And now we are torn apart. We are torn apart. How can we mount an effective struggle against the PPP? Some of the young people, I understand, said that they vote for Win because we weren't united. We were fighting over 65 and 35. So they vote for Win. Well, young people, you all tell me what Win fighting APNU for. Is not 100, my 100 and 0? Win seem to be saying, we were 100, and you take not. They gone up from 65. So you all jump out of the cannery and gone in the fire. The thing that you all say, that you all turned your back on the APNU for because they were fighting up among themselves. Very well. I was angry with them for doing that. I said that they're stupid. So I with you all. I with you all. So you give your vote to Muhammad. You didn't give it to the PPP. Fair enough. You give it to Muhammad. You then create a second African party, so to speak. And what that second African party is doing now, not fighting APNU, just as the AFC did. So, you all tell me what? Tell me no. Reason with me. Reason with me. No, I like the young people. I felt that, the APNU AFC leaders The devil's stupidness. But I decided, and when I'm using I here, I'm not just talking about myself. Those who share my worldview, share my ideology, share my politics, we decided it's better for us to stay inside and try to bring some sanity and sense to inside than to jump and go away. It's your democratic right to vote for whatever party you want to vote for. I have spent my entire life fighting for that right, and I will continue to defend that right. But you have to, having exercised your right, you have to take responsibility for the consequences. And the consequence is now you have two warring factions among African Guyanese. And with all due respect to Forward Guyana and AFC and Assembly of the People, Assembly for Liberty. I don't want to, Sister Simona gonna beat me up. I got to get it right. Assembly for the Liberty of the People. With all due respect to them, they, by virtue of the numbers they got at the election, they are not the quote-unquote big players. And if we include them, it will be 5 African parties. And if we say the APNUs are coming together of parties, WPA, PNC, National Front Alliance, we are talking about 8 parties. We are dividing 8 ways. That is the outcome of the September 1st election. And diversity is not a bad thing. Diversity is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. But in ethnic societies, in fact, in all human societies, people measure who they are against their neighbors, against somebody else. I am because I am not. I am Guyanese because I am not Barbadian. I am Barbadian because I am not St. Lucian. I am St. Lucian because I am not American. I am American because I'm not Canadian. So when we say we are really also saying we are not. And so, whereas our Indo-Guyanese comrades are saying we are a PPP. We are PPP. But Africans are saying we are PNC, we are WPA, we are FGM, we are WIN, we are PNC, we are AFC. And in saying that we are those things, we are also saying we are not. That's the lay of the land. People measure where they are against others. Nobody can tell me that there are not serious differences, political differences in the Indian community. There are as serious differences, political differences, as they are among Africans. There are class differences. There are gender differences. There are country versus tongue differences. There are differences in terms of occupation. So there are differences in the Indian community. But the Indian community voted their racial interests first. And they deal with their other interests after the elections. African Guyanese did not vote their racial interests in one block. We voted our racial interests across block, and in the process, we weaken ourselves racially. When the roll is called up yonder, we will not be there. Or, well, if when we are there, we are going to be there divided. Those Indian people who stick their necks out and come on the opposition side, come on the APNU side, we have let them down also. We have let ourselves down because we couldn't realize that the election was about solidarity, ethnic solidarity. That is what the election was also about, ethnic solidarity. Ethnic solidarity. And we let ourselves down as Africans when it came to ethnic solidarity. We gave 77,000 votes to APNU. We gave another 70-something to WIN. And people think that I myself got caught up in the numbers. Until you look at the numbers carefully, you saw about 22,000 indigenous people voted WIN. Another 12,000 or so voted from the Indian communities. That's 34. And so about 75,000 Africans would have voted for WIN. Now, the 10 to 12,000 East Indians who voted for WIN, that's a 1.5 seat. 1.5 seat. The 22,000 or thereabout Native Indians, indigenous people who voted WIN, that's about 3 to 4 seats. And the 70-something thousand, about 11 seats from African people. So we let ourselves down when it came to the issue of ethnic solidarity, because East Indians voted en bloc for one party, and we voted for several parties, two of the main ones who are fighting one another now don't know. That is why I began by saying I don't want to talk too much about the details about what happened over the weekend, who was supposed to line up with who, and who was supposed to vote who, and who now joining with PPP, and so on. There are people who are better equipped to deal with those kinds of things than I am. What I am dealing with is a spectacle of Black people fighting Black people, not for the prize of the government, but fighting Black people for the crumbs. The big prize gone to the PPP. They are in government for the next 5 years. Our inability to understand that we needed to close ranks to move the PPP cost us the big prize. And now we're fighting, Matty, for the little prize. There is a gold, silver, and bronze, no? We are not even fighting for the bronze. The gold and the silver gone. We surrendered 2 branches of government. We surrendered the executive branch and we surrendered the legislative branch. One fell swoop on September 1st. And we have to take responsibility, all of us, followers and leaders. Followers and leaders. Because we, the leaders, were afraid to tell our young people, our supporters, this election is about your ethnic survival also. It was about other things. Cost of living, corruption, but all of that was about your ethnic survival, the grand plan. At the time of independence, the question was who governs? And we spent 4 years shedding each other blood from 61 to 64. The disturbance. Because we had to settle the question of who governs. It was the political prize. And now with oil is who controls those 30 billion barrels of oil? That's the question. And we are not shedding physical blood as we did in 1960s, but we are shedding some serious economic, cultural, and political blood. Look at the blood fight on social media this weekend. This time, we are inflicting. Brother Takuma said, turn the guns somewhere else. We, over the weekend, turned the guns on our side. I'll turn it on ourselves. Turn it on each other. That's the spectacle that we saw on the weekend. Turn the guns on each other. Did you all see Indians carrying on about what happened in Linden? That's not their business. And they make it known. That's not their business. Their party got the big prize. And they're watching us. Turning the proverbial gun on each other. Oh, what a shame. Oh, what a shame. God and the ancestors work in mysterious ways. I didn't intend to take last week off. All kinds of things came together and I didn't get to do a show last week. But I'm glad now, in looking back, that I could spend the time and look at what happened. Black man, catch yourself. Black man, how you catch your own self? Black leaders, you all got to help our people to catch themselves. You all have to stop being timid. Stop being timid. Look yourself in the face. No matter how many PhDs we have, they will still judge us by our color. All the PhD we have, look how they stick their eyes and pass we. From Nigel to Norton to David to all of us. And then they sit over there and said, David Hines say you go to school. And that young black people can get time with school now. David Hines teaching them how to make money, teaching them about school. That is what they're saying about you all on the other side. They said young black people are interested in going to school and education and big words. That's what Ravi Dev said. And Ravi Dev is the ideologue of the Indian ascendancy in Guyana. And he said it on a program last week. He said David Hines like to say he got to school. And he know big words. But black people ain't got no time for school and big words. They're different. They want to make quick money. That is what they've relegated you all to. That's what they've relegated you all to. And you all are busy turning the guns on each other, the political guns on each other, and destroying the black community. Destroying the black community. Let me say again, your vote is your personal business, but you didn't win that vote by yourself as a person. That vote came as a result of the collective resistance of our people. And so while you may claim it as your personal thing. You didn't get it because you're Jack Jones or Jenny Thomas. You get it as a result of the collective African struggle. So that vote is yours personally, but it also belongs to the community. And you could use that vote to harm your own community, or you could use it to secure and protect your community. Take your choice. Ask yourself, what did we do on September 1st? Did we use our vote to protect our community, our dignity? Or did we use it to harm our community and our collective dignity? That is why you all have never heard from me. Never heard me say, take the money and know where to put your vote. I always felt that that was not a very good thing to tell our people. The most I will say, I understand in your state of impoverishment, in your state of lack of understanding of your history, in the case of a lack of understanding of the present, that you may be lured to take money. I understand it. And that is why we intend to spend our time ridding the country of poverty. But it's not just economic poverty that gets us in this recent mess. Economic poverty is part of it. It's also cultural poverty, cultural poverty. Cultural poverty. Because when you're culturally in trouble, you make certain mistakes. And so, sisters and brothers, we're not mourning. We ought not to mourn, but we have to organize. It was a rallying call when my leader, our leader, Dr. Walter Rodney, was killed in 1980. We said, do not mourn, organize. Brother Stokely Carmichael, wherever he went, always say, organize, 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 join something. So many of you have called me and have asked me to speak for you. And I don't take that request lightly. I intend to continue to speak on your behalf and to fight on your behalf. Sister called me today. She has been calling me for the last 2 weeks. One of my closest comrades, she came up to me about 10 years ago somewhere. I think I was speaking in Buxton. And she said, you know, I believe in what you're doing and I want to help. There are so many people like that. They're not card-carrying WPA members, but they know where they stand in relation to how we see the world. And that sister tried about 8 times to get me for the last week and a half. And every time she tried, I was doing something else. And I always promised to call her back. And today, she didn't get me, but I called her back. And she persisted in calling. Because she said she just wanted to speak to me. She felt so let down, so let down. And this weekend took it down to another level. And we managed to speak for a little while, not as long as we should. Do you all understand what's happening in our community? So many of our people are bleeding. And this is not just about the people who voted against APNU. It's also those who voted for the other parties like WIN. It's also about them. They cast the vote. They miscalculated. I'm sure when they were going to that ballot box, they didn't say, I am voting for Win so Win could get into a fight with APNU. I am sure they didn't vote for that. I am sure. But what is the outcome? Win fighting down APNU, and some of you will say APNU fighting down with same Altu. Same Altu. And our detractors are on the sideline and say, go on, go on, go on. Yes, Win, knock another punch. Yes, APNU, knock another punch. Yeah. Meanwhile, the patrimony is going into deep pockets on the other side. Meanwhile, the government is facing all kinds of problems. Black man, catch yourself. Catch yourself. And for those of you on the PPP side, the Indians on the PPP side, when your neighbor house on fire, you better start throw water upon you. I don't have to tell Jack that he know that well. He know that well. But here we are burning down our house. We are burning down our house. I said it, and I'm going to say it again. By splitting your vote, what you have done is that you've created two African parties, and here they are fighting one another for the crumbs. Black man, we are better than that. Black woman, we are better than that. We are. We did not give the world Eddie Grant to be a people who are destined to always be fighting ourselves, fighting among ourselves. We did not. Black man, black woman, I love you all. The court just said that if an African rebuke an African, that's not racial hostility. Thank you very much, Mr. Court. That's what the court said in the Takumo Ogunse case. Because they're charging on the Racial Hostility Act. And the court said that if an African is talking to his own people, that's not racial hostility. The court has pronounced on that. Black people, I love you all. I love you all bad. But when we wrong, we wrong. When we wrong, we wrong. I give you the benefit of the doubt when you cast your vote on September 1st. And say, well, all right, you decide to cast your vote for another African party in the process. When you cast that vote, you're creating another African party. All right? I dare with you. But then look what happened on the weekend. You created a new African party to fight the old African party, and the other side, they What are you fighting for? Not the big prize. The big prize gone. Daddy gone to Cove and John. I will depend on. It's up to us now to decide whether we're going to correct this mess or we're going to go down the drain and die politically, economically, and culturally on the shores of the Atlantic. It's a big decision. It's not going to be corrected by one person. It's not going to be corrected by me. It's not going to be corrected by Takumo Ogunse, Vincent Alexander. It's going to be corrected by all of us. I know my job. I know my place. I hear they say, well, David Hines already said he carrying the politics into Parliament. Parliament is a representative institution. I have to represent the people who vote for us. I have to represent the people who vote for us. I have to represent Africans because that's my constituency. I have to represent Guyana when it comes to national issues. When it comes to national issues, we are all Guyanese parliamentarians. But when it comes to representational issues, we have to represent our constituency. So why is some crime because I say I am going to Parliament to represent poor people, to represent African people? They're poor Indians. They're poor Amerindians who will benefit from my representation when I am standing on the side of poor people. And when I stand on the side of African people, they are phenotypically blacks who I will be representing. But there are also people who are not phenotypically black, but they are ideologically black. The sister from Berbice, Sister Lachmin Aziz, who told the world that when she stood as a declarer of the revolution, the leader of WIN, actually what she doing there with them black man party? That's an Indian woman who said that. She said it publicly. You all Africans, some of you, decide to give your vote to the leader of WIN. Who, if we are to believe Sister Aziz, if we are to believe that Indian sister, you may have given your vote to someone who doesn't see your worth. I don't know. I never heard the man say so. I never heard the man put down black people. But an Indian woman, a Muslim Indian woman, said the man said, what should do with them black man party? Black man, catch yourself. Black woman, look ourselves in the mirror. Still love you all, will always, and the struggle continues. The struggle continues. We're not giving up now. We have come too far. We have come too far to give up. We're not giving up. We're going to fight this. I think politically, electorally, the vote's going to come back home. But the scars of what we have done is not going to be healed in 1 year or 5 years. We have set ourselves back culturally, economically, politically. But just as we beat other forms of injustice, we got to beat this too. We got to beat this master plan to wipe Africa off the face of Guyana.